Welcome to the Daily Globe. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates, a date that will soon be etched into the diplomatic history of North America. As autumn deepens, a chill far colder than the season settles over the continent, not from the weather, but from a sudden escalation in political tensions. Tensions flare along the world's longest undefended border, not from winter, but from a diplomatic standoff. The usually peaceful crossings are now shadowed by uncertainty, as both nations brace for the fallout of a high-stakes disagreement. The United States has issued a blunt warning to Canada: commit fully to buying 88 F-35 stealth fighters, or face serious consequences. The message is clear and the tone is unmistakably urgent. Behind closed doors, officials scramble to interpret what those consequences might mean for trade, security, and the future of the alliance. This isn't just about jets, it's a test of the US-Canada alliance. The relationship, built over decades of cooperation and trust, now faces one of its most significant challenges. Every handshake and every flag fluttering in the wind is a reminder of what's at stake. The F-35 is meant to unify Allied air power, strengthening the collective defense of North America and NATO. But Canada is considering a mixed fleet, possibly adding Swedish Gripens to its arsenal. This move, while practical for Canada's needs, is seen by Washington as a potential fracture in Allied unity. For Canada, it's the largest military procurement in its history, a decision that will shape its air force for decades. Billions of dollars, thousands of jobs, and the nation's security posture all hang in the balance as officials weigh their options. For the US, it's about alliance cohesion. American leaders worry that any deviation from the F-35 program could weaken the interoperability that has long been the backbone of joint defense efforts. The Pentagon is watching closely, aware that this decision could set a precedent for other allies. The dispute comes amid rising global instability and trade tensions, raising the stakes for both countries. With conflicts simmering in other parts of the world and economic uncertainty at home, neither side can afford a rift. Yet the pressure to stand firm is immense. Prime Minister Mark Carney faces a tough choice: appease Washington and risk domestic backlash, or assert Canadian sovereignty and face possible economic or security fallout. Every move is scrutinized, every word analyzed, as Parliament debates the nation's next steps. The world is watching as the future of North American defense and the NATO alliance hangs in the balance. Allies and adversaries alike are paying close attention, knowing that the outcome of the standoff could reshape the security landscape for years to come. Canada's F-35 saga began in 1997, when the country joined the US-led Joint Strike Fighter program. This early partnership wasn't just about buying a new jet, it was about having a seat at the table to help shape the design of what would become the world's most advanced stealth fighter. Canadian officials saw an opportunity to secure lucrative industrial contracts for domestic aerospace companies, hoping to boost jobs and innovation at home while strengthening ties with the US and other allies. Over the next 2 decades, Canada poured hundreds of millions of dollars into the project. Engineers and technicians contributed to the F-35's development, and Canadian firms won contracts to build key components. But the program was plagued by technical setbacks, delays, and ballooning costs. News headlines chronicled the mounting price tag, and public skepticism grew as the jet's promised capabilities seemed perpetually just out of reach. Political debates erupted in Parliament and across the country. Was the F-35 truly the right choice for Canada's unique needs, especially for patrolling the vast remote Arctic? Some argued that a cheaper, non-stealth jet could do the job just as well, while others insisted that only the F-35's advanced technology could ensure Canada's security in a rapidly changing world. After years of uncertainty, in January 2023, the government finally committed to buying 88 F-35As for $13.2 billion. The goal was clear: replace the aging fleet of CF-18 Hornets and modernize Canada's Air Force for the 21st century. The announcement was hailed as a major step forward, promising new capabilities and reaffirming Canada's role in NATO and North American defense. But the story didn't end there. In 2025, a new government led by Mark Carney took office and immediately ordered a comprehensive review of the F-35 deal. Old wounds reopened, and fierce debate returned to the national stage. Critics questioned the cost and necessity of the jets, while supporters warned that backing out could damage Canada's reputation and military readiness. the F-35 agreement, once thought to be settled, was suddenly thrown into limbo. Tensions rose between Ottawa and Washington as the U.S. pressed Canada to honor its commitments. The uncertainty cast a shadow over Canada's defense industry and its relationship with key allies, setting the stage for today's high-stakes confrontation. The outcome of this decision will shape the Royal Canadian Air Force for generations to come. It's not just about planes, it's about Canada's place in the world, its ability to defend its sovereignty, and the future of its military identity. As the debate rages on, one thing is clear: the path to modernizing Canada's military has never been more complex or uncertain, and the stakes have never been higher. Despite ongoing political turmoil and heated debates in Ottawa, Canada's commitment to modernizing its Air Force remains a hot topic. The nation's leaders are under pressure from both domestic critics and international allies to follow through on promises made years ago. Canada's F-35 procurement is moving forward, at least on paper. The government has signed contracts and made public commitments, but skepticism lingers about whether the plan will survive shifting political winds. The Department of National Defense is proceeding with the purchase of 16 jets. 4 are already paid for, marking a significant financial and strategic investment. This is just the first phase of a much larger plan to replace Canada's aging fighter fleet. These first jets will be delivered in 2026, but before they touch down on Canadian soil, pilots and ground crews will undergo extensive training in Arizona. This partnership with the U.S. ensures Canadian forces are ready to operate and maintain the new aircraft from day one. In addition to the jets themselves, Canada has also bought parts for 8 more jets, locking in commitments for at least 12 aircraft. These spare parts are crucial for keeping the fleet operational and minimizing downtime once the planes arrive. Canceling now would mean not only financial penalties but also a diplomatic rift with the U.S., Canada's closest ally and defense partner. The stakes are high, and every decision is being closely watched by both nations. The first F-35s are set to arrive in Canada in 2027, marking a new era for the Royal Canadian Air Force. However, the timeline could shift depending on political developments and budgetary reviews. Military planners are preparing for a future that's far from certain. They're developing strategies, updating training programs, and coordinating with allies to ensure Canada's readiness, no matter what happens next. The clock is ticking as political uncertainty overshadows every step. With so much at stake, the coming months will be critical in determining whether Canada's F-35 commitment becomes reality or remains just another promise on paper. Prime Minister Carney's review of the F-35 deal has split the government. Some push for a mixed fleet, fewer F-35s, supplemented by cheaper jets like the Saab Gripen, to save money and increase flexibility. Military leaders warn this would create costly logistical headaches and undermine operational effectiveness. The government faces a stark choice: stick with the full F-35 order and face domestic criticism, or scale back and risk U.S. retaliation. Carney is caught between fiscal promises and the demands of Canada's most important ally. The F-35's price tag has soared, now estimated at $27.7 billion, up nearly 50% since 2019. This doesn't include billions more for weapons. Inflation, global demand for munitions, and new U.S. security requirements have driven costs higher. Construction of secure hangars is years behind schedule, threatening to delay the jet's arrival in Canada. The contract is in US dollars, so every drop in the Canadian dollar adds hundreds of millions to the bill. Critics argue the project is a runaway expense, while supporters say it's the price of modern defense. The government faces mounting pressure as costs spiral and timelines slip. The F-35's financial burden is now a central issue in the debate. The F-35 dispute is straining US-Canada relations, already tense from new tariffs and trade battles. The U.S. insists the F-35 is vital for NORAD's future, enabling seamless defense against threats from Russia and China. A mixed fleet, Washington warns, would weaken North American security. Canadian industry has won $1.8 billion in F-35 contracts, but scaling back could jeopardize future work and jobs. Politically, Carney risks backlash, yield to U.S. pressure and face domestic anger, or defy Washington and risk economic retaliation. The government is balancing sovereignty, security, and economic interests on a knife's edge. Every option carries political and financial risks. The F-35 has become a symbol of Canada's place in the world. Military leaders argue only a full fleet of F-35s can meet Canada's defense needs and keep pace with adversaries. They warn that a mixed fleet would double costs and strain resources. Critics, including retired generals, say interoperability is about tactics, not hardware, pointing to current CF-18s working alongside U.S. jets. Some see U.S. pressure as more about politics than operational necessity. For others, the debate is about sovereignty. Should Canada bow to U.S. demands or make its own choices? The government must weigh military advice, economic realities, and national pride. The F-35 debate is about more than jets, it's about Canada's identity. The decision will echo for generations. Canada stands at a crossroads: double down on the F-35 and alliance with the U.S., or assert independence with a mixed fleet. A full F-35 buy ensures top-tier capability and alliance cohesion, but at a steep financial and political cost. It would secure industrial benefits and calm U.S. tensions, but strain the defense budget for decades. A mixed fleet could save billions and assert sovereignty, but risks U.S. retaliation and operational headaches. Either path will define Canada's defense and foreign policy for a generation. The stakes are monumental: alliance unity, military capability, and national identity are all on the line. This is more than a procurement decision. It's a defining moment. The world is watching Canada's next move. The F-35 dilemma has forced Canada to confront its identity and priorities in a dangerous world. The final decision will signal whether Canada remains a loyal U.S. ally or charts a more independent course. For Canadians, it's about responsible spending, military readiness, and the country's global role. The outcome will set a precedent for future U.S.-Canada relations. As Ottawa deliberates, allies and adversaries alike await the verdict. The F-35 debate is about sovereignty, security, and survival. The choice will shape Canada's future for decades. The world is watching as Canada decides its path.